Welcome back to the final expedition log, where we document the missions that never made it home. Today's file comes from the earliest days of deep-sea acoustic research. A 1952 NATO survey in the Baltic that recorded something moving beneath the ocean floor itself. 4 specialists descended into the Gotland deep to investigate structured sonar returns that shouldn't exist. Their final transmission mentioned pressure readings that defied physics. The recording equipment was recovered. The team was not. If stories like this keep you awake at night, consider subscribing. It helps us bring more forgotten expeditions to light. The sonar contact appeared at 0340 hours on June 9th, 1952. I'm Commander Henrik Olsen, NATO Maritime Survey Division, writing this from the research vessel Tor anchored above the Gotland Deep. Water temperature, 4 degrees Celsius at depth. Visibility, absolute zero below 200 meters. Our mission parameters were simple. Map the trench floor using the new Swedish-designed acoustic array. Catalog geological formations. Return to Stockholm in 2 weeks. Dr. Marta Klein configured her equipment to pulse every 15 seconds, standard survey protocol. The array was detecting returns from 459 meters, the known bottom depth. When Eric Lund's monitor showed secondary echoes originating from 510 meters, 51 meters below solid seabed. Marta recalibrated twice. The echoes persisted. She described them as structured movement patterns inconsistent with geological features. Not random, not static. The acoustic signature suggested something shifting in layers beneath the sediment, creating interference waves that matched no known natural phenomenon. I authorized extended observation. For 6 hours, we recorded returns that appeared and vanished in sequences. 3 pulses, 7 minutes silence, 5 pulses, 11 minutes silence. Mathematical almost. Paul Becker, our technical diver, suggested equipment malfunction. Marta showed him 3 separate systems producing identical data. By June 10th, the pattern had changed. Echoes now occurred every 4 minutes precisely, originating from depths between 480 and 520 meters. Marta's calculations indicated the source was moving, not drifting with currents, but traveling in geometric patterns across a 2-kilometer radius directly beneath our position. I contacted Naval Command in Stockholm. They instructed us to continue observation and prepare for a manned descent if the phenomenon remained consistent. Paul began pressure testing his dive equipment. The deepest technical dive on record was 395 meters. We were proposing 480. Eric noted something else. The echo signatures were growing stronger, closer to the actual seabed, as if whatever produced them was rising. By June 11th, returns came from 465 meters, just 6 meters below the trench floor. Marta set her array to maximum sensitivity. The resulting data showed not one source, but multiple contact points moving in coordinated formation. She counted 17 distinct signatures, each maintaining exact spacing from the others, traveling at uniform depth. When I asked what could explain this, she said nothing in her 12 years of marine acoustics research matched these patterns. Command authorized the descent for June 12th at 0600 hours. Paul would dive with a reinforced atmospheric suit rated to 500 meters, tethered to the Tor by steel cable and communication line. Marta configured a portable sonar unit for his descent, waterproofed and depth compensated. Eric would monitor topside acoustics while maintaining voice contact. My role was mission oversight and emergency protocol. We had 18 hours of dive-safe weather before a low-pressure system moved in from the northwest. Paul entered the water at 0603. Initial descent was textbook, smooth cable feed, clear communications, stable pressure readings. At 150 meters, he reported complete darkness and activated his suit lamps. At 300 meters, he confirmed he was following the descent path directly toward the strongest echo signature. Marta tracked him on sonar. One bright contact point descending through 17 fainter contacts, now positioned at 455 meters. They hadn't risen further. They'd stopped, as if waiting. But Command's weather report had predicted clear conditions for 36 hours, not 18. At 380 meters, Paul's voice changed texture. The helium mixture made everyone sound strained, but this was different. He reported his depth gauge reading 380 meters, while the cable length indicator topside showed 340 meters deployed. 40 meters of discrepancy. Eric checked the cable tension. Normal. I asked Paul to verify his instruments. He tapped the gauge, read it again. Still 380 meters. Marta's sonar placed him at 340 meters, matching our cable data. Paul's own equipment disagreed with every external measurement. I ordered him to hold position while we diagnosed the error. He maintained depth, running through his instrument checklist. Pressure reading, 39 bar. Temperature, 4.1 degrees Celsius. Oxygen mixture, nominal. Suit integrity, sealed. Everything functional except the depth gauge, which now read 385 meters despite Paul confirming he hadn't descended further. The cable indicator remained locked at 340 meters. 5 meters of phantom depth gained while stationary. Then Marta's sonar screen went blank. Not malfunctioning, displaying active sonar with 0 returns. The 17 contact signatures vanished simultaneously at 0639 hours. The seabed disappeared from her display. Paul's contact marker showed him suspended in what the system interpreted as infinite empty water. Eric's backup array confirmed it. No acoustic returns from any depth. The Gotland deep had become a sonar void. Paul reported something else. The pressure reading was climbing. 41 bar, 43 bar, 46 bar. His suit depth gauge now showed 441 meters, but we deployed exactly 340 meters of cable, and Eric confirmed 0 additional cable movement. Paul was experiencing pressure increases equivalent to descending 100 meters while remaining stationary. Marta suggested immediate abort. Pressure anomalies of this magnitude indicated catastrophic equipment failure or something affecting the water column itself. I gave the order, surface immediately. Eric engaged the winch. Cable retraction began at standard recovery speed, 8 meters per minute. Paul confirmed he felt upward movement. His depth gauge began decreasing. 438 meters, 434 meters, 429 meters. Pressure readings dropped correspondingly. At 0647, he descended to 410 meters by his instruments. We'd retracted 60 meters of cable. Mathematics that should have placed him at 280 meters. Paul's voice transmission degraded to static bursts at 0651. Eric increased signal gain. Through the interference, we heard Paul say his suit lamps were illuminating something below him. Large formations, he said. Geometric, not geological. Marta's sonar remained blank. She was receiving active pings, but 0 returns, as if the equipment were functioning in a vacuum instead of water. I asked Paul to describe what he saw. He said the formations extended in rows, perfectly spaced, each roughly 4 meters in diameter, 17 of them, arranged in the exact pattern Marta's previous sonar data had shown. Then Paul screamed. Not pain, confusion. His depth gauge had reversed, reading 420 meters and climbing, 425, 431, 438. He was ascending on the cable. Eric confirmed constant winch operation, 110 meters retracted total. But Paul's instruments showed him descending rapidly. Pressure reading, 51 bar, equivalent to 490 meters depth. His suit was rated to 500 meters maximum. Marta grabbed the radio, shouting for him to emergency purge ballast and ascend manually. Paul responded that he was ascending, could feel the cable pulling him upward, but his instrument screamed he was plummeting toward crushed depth. At 0656 hours, Paul's pressure reading hit 54 bar. Depth gauge, 518 meters, 18 meters beyond suit rating. We'd retracted 130 meters of cable. Eric's tension monitors showed normal load, not the cable snap you'd expect from a suit imploding at depth. Paul's voice was high-pitched, rapid. He said the formations below were rising with him, maintaining exact distance. 17 objects pacing his ascent, staying 50 meters beneath him regardless of his actual position. Marta's sonar finally returned a single contact. Paul's suit, registering at 210 meters depth, right where it should be based on cable length. His instrument said 522 meters. Pressure, 56 bar. Suit hull integrity alarms activated. Audio warnings we could hear through his open microphone. Paul was shouting that the water itself felt wrong, denser, pressing against his joints despite the atmospheric suit design. Eric increased winch speed to maximum, 15 meters per minute. At 0659, we'd retracted 160 meters total. Paul should have been at 180 meters, well within safe operating parameters, beginning decompression protocol. His depth gauge read 531 meters. Pressure, 58 bars. Marta's sonar showed him at 180 meters, ascending normally. I asked Paul directly, "Can you see surface light?" Long pause, then, "No, only dark, depth increasing." Impossible. At 180 meters in clear Baltic water, dawn light should have been visible. Paul's subjective experience matched instruments showing 531 meters, total darkness, crushing pressure, deep trench environment. But physically, measurably, he was ascending through shallow water. At 0703 hours, Paul's final coherent transmission. Pressure behaving incorrectly. Formations directly below. They're not moving. I am. Downward. Cable is... Command. The cable is pulling me down. Eric's instruments showed upward retraction. 190 meters deployed, steady tension. Paul's voice. Depth 547 meters. Pressure 59 bar. Suit breach imminent. They're beneath me. I can see inside them now. There are. Transmission ceased. Cable tension dropped to 0 instantly. Eric stopped the winch. We'd retracted 210 meters of cable. Paul should have been at 130 meters depth, safely ascending. Marta's sonar showed no contact. Eric began emergency full-speed retrieval. The cable came up empty. No suit, no Paul. Just 250 meters of steel cable with a cleanly severed end, cut at precisely 250 meters from the winch. But we'd only deployed 340 meters total. The severed point should have been underwater. I ordered immediate sonar sweep of the entire descent zone. Marta activated full array. active pinging at maximum power, searching 360 degrees from surface to 600 meters. The display showed normal seabed topology at 459 meters. No anomalies, no debris field, no suit signature, no body. The 17 contact points that had tracked Paul's descent were gone. Eric deployed the backup hydrophone array, listening for suit beacon transponders, emergency locators, air bubble release, anything. The Baltic returned only wave noise and distant shipping traffic. We maintained search position for 6 hours. Naval Command dispatched 2 additional vessels with deep scan sonar and ROV capability. They arrived June 13th at 1400 hours and began systematic grid search of a 4 square kilometer area centered on Paul's last known position. Their equipment showed identical results to ours. Undisturbed seabed, no wreckage, no trace of the atmospheric suit's steel titanium frame that should have been impossible to miss on sonar. 7 tons of equipment doesn't vanish. The cable bothered me most. I had Eric examine the severed end under microscope on June 14th. The cut was uniform, perpendicular to cable axis, with no fraying or stress deformation. Not torn, not corroded. Severed by precise shearing force while under tension. Eric noted something else. The cable length showed 250 meters from winch to cut point, but we deployed 340 meters total. 90 meters of cable was missing, not retracted, not tangled, not on the seabed. Simply gone. Marta reviewed all recorded sonar data from the descent. She isolated the moment Paul's contact signature vanished, 07:03:17 hours. The acoustic return from his suit didn't fade or move deeper. It ceased instantaneously across all frequencies, as if the object producing the reflection had stopped existing in the water column. She compared this to the 17 earlier contacts that vanished at 06:39. Identical signature cessation, present one pulse, absent the next, with no transition period. On June 15th, I compiled my report for Naval Command. Expedition Summary. Research Vessel Tour conducted acoustic survey of Gotland Deep per NATO Maritime Mapping Directive. Anomalous sonar returns detected June 9th to 11th from sub-seabed depths. Technical diver Paul Becker deployed June 12th to investigate. Communications lost at 07:03 hours during ascent. Recovery operations negative. Diver status: missing, presumed lost, equipment failure suspected, though no debris recovered. Recommend site be designated hazardous and restricted from future dive operations pending investigation. Command's response arrived June 16th. The mission was classified under NATO security protocol. All recorded data, sonar logs, acoustic files, radio transcripts, cable analysis, was to be surrendered to military intelligence. Our crew received transfer orders to separate postings, effective immediately. Official record would state equipment malfunction during deep technical dive. Standard operational loss. Paul Becker's family would be notified he died in service during a training exercise. No details. No questions. I returned to the Gotland Deep in 1967 as part of a Swedish Navy survey mission. 15 years later, different equipment, different crew, different objectives. On our 3rd day over the trench, the sonar operator reported intermittent contacts from 510 meters depth, beneath the seabed. I told him to note it as acoustic scatter and continue mapping. But I watched his display. The contacts moved in formation, 17 distinct signatures, maintaining geometric spacing, traveling at uniform depth. The pattern Marta had documented in 1952. I didn't report it. I didn't investigate. We completed our survey and departed. The operator mentioned the anomalous returns in his log and the report was filed without comment. I've checked maritime survey records since. Every acoustic study of the Gotland Deep since 1952 has detected similar sub-seabed contacts. They're documented as equipment artifacts, geological interference, acoustic scatter from sediment layers. 17 contacts, always 17, moving in coordinated patterns beneath the trench floor. Paul's body was never recovered. The atmospheric suit was never found. The missing 90 meters of cable remained missing. In 1973, a Swedish salvage company conducting unrelated operations 40 kilometers northwest of our 1952 position recovered a section of steel cable from 280 meters depth. They noted it was unusual. Military-grade construction, severed cleanly at both ends, approximately 90 meters in length. They couldn't explain how cable matching 1950s NATO specifications ended up on the seabed in that location. I saw the recovery report. I recognized the shear pattern. Marta Klein died in 1981. Eric Lund in 1989. I'm the last surviving member of the Tor crew. The data we surrendered in 1952 was supposedly destroyed, but I've heard rumors it's archived in classified NATO maritime files. Research proposals to explore the Gotland Deep's acoustic anomalies have been submitted and rejected by Swedish and international authorities 17 times since 1952. Always rejected. No explanations given. The Baltic still produces those sonar returns. Acoustic surveys still detect them. Scientists still document them as equipment error, and sometimes, late at night, I wonder if Paul ever reached the surface. If his instruments were telling the truth and ours were lying. If 531 meters was his real depth and 180 meters was the error. If he's still down there, descending forever through water that measures different distances, depending on who's counting. The pressure still behaves incorrectly. The formations are still beneath the seabed, and 17 contacts still move through the Gotland Deep, maintaining their perfect geometric pattern. The silence continues.